Hey everyone, it is Jay Soloff from Investors Alley, and this is our options trade of the week. We are looking at Market Chameleon's unusual options screener. So it's a good way to see what some of the action is and maybe some of the names that don't trade as often, or names that trade quite a bit but are trading even more. So what I usually like to do in that case, sort by volume so we can see some of the bigger names that are trading more than usual, such as Twitter, Zynga is a mobile game company. You have a few other things coming down here. You have the biotech ETF, some technology. I want to look at Costco here because they just had earnings. You can see the stock dropped about 1%, although probably moved around quite a bit today. The news was, let's say, more bearish than not on the earnings. I mean, the numbers were strong, but maybe a bit of a negative surprise that the costs from the pandemic were sort of outweighing the gains. So kind of a mixed day. It looked like options were mixed, but leaning bullish, almost 60% calls versus 40% puts. So typically calls are bullish, puts are bearish. Not always, but that tends to be the case when you're looking at generic sort of breakdowns. But interesting to see that there were more calls even though the stock closed down. People were still relatively bullish on Costco moving forward. So if we look at some of the trades, maybe we can see if there's anything interesting going on there. So I will go to the trades and I will sort by quantity to see what some of the bigger things might have been. So right off the bat, this one is interesting because it's a January 2021. So a longer term option that someone, not a lot of open interest. So this is probably someone buying this to open. Looks like they were buying it because it's closer to the ask price. Almost 1,000 of these 310 calls with the stock at 307. So that's a lot of money to spend on calls. It's almost $2 million worth because they're $22 options. So that is a sizable investment, probably bullish, at least from from what we can see here. If you had to make a guess, it looks bullish. So that's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at Costco here in the brokerage account. You can see it's been relatively sideways here for a while. Never took quite the hit that other companies took during the pandemic, just because it is the place where people are stocking up on their goods. Came back up, has come back down, now has been relatively sideways. So kind of an interesting stock to look at in terms of trading. It doesn't seem to have an obvious direction. All right. So the trade that we saw, it goes all the way out to January. So it covers about 7 months, and basically 310 here is the strike, which is right here, but they spend $22 on it, which means it needs to go above, by expiration, it needs to go above 330 here. It needs to be up here for that trade to make money. Now, it could be a part of some other sort of trades that we're not aware of, or some part of a hedge, or there's obviously a lot of things it could be, but it's just interesting to see that's a lot of money to spend on calls even 7 months away. So either someone is very bullish on Costco's future, or it's a part of a bigger strategy that we have no idea how to identify. Meanwhile, sort of thing is easy enough to do. You wanted to take a sort of a long shot on Costco for the next, for the remainder of the year. You don't necessarily need to buy a 310 call. You can buy something further away. You could do a call spread to save some money. So just interesting ways to structure it depending on what your goals are. This sort of stuff is something we talk about in Coffee and Condors. It's a bi-weekly chat we do. We talk about different strategies and different stocks, and it's a kind of a chat room, trade room environment. So if you want to check it out, go to coffeeandcondors.com.